In 1938, the legendary New York Yankee Lou Gehrig announced that he had amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, a fatal neuromuscular disorder that causes a steady weakening of the muscles until complete paralysis sets in. Although it was not a new illness, Gehrig was the first to make it public, and it soon became known as Lou Gehrig's disease.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Over the years, many individuals have worked to raise awareness and funds for ALS.
The best example is the name Les Turner. Here we are 30+ years after Les Turner was diagnosed with ALS. And to see the staff that we have, to see the board that is involved, to see the volunteers that make things happen day to day, I feel very proud to be a part of it.
Bob Lee's involvement with the Les Turner Foundation began years ago when he created a cross-country bike trip to raise awareness and funds after his neighbor was diagnosed with ALS.
I went through the first 50 years of my life not knowing anything about ALS. And I was fortunate enough to be able to be out on a bike, and Bill couldn't. People would ask, "Why are you riding?" And it would open up avenues of conversation where people would come up and say, "My grandfather, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncle, my husband had ALS." But at times I'd go into a community and they'd say, "This is not a local story." Well, it is a local story. 12 people a day in this country are being diagnosed with ALS.
People say it doesn't affect that many people, but it really does. Thousands of people are diagnosed, and then there's families that are involved and children.
Jim Chamernik's wife, Aimee, was diagnosed 3.5 years ago when she was 35. As a mother of 3 young children, Nicholas, Emily, and Zachary, she works hard to keep life as normal as possible while her disease progresses.
Probably the single most frustrating thing I deal with every day is sounding like I do.
But that didn't stop her from becoming a very active and vocal advocate for the cause.
After Aimee was diagnosed, we went into a really dark period. And once we got over that hump, we decided that we're going to do whatever we can to raise awareness.
Their first idea was to create a website, askaboutamee.com, where Aimee could share her thoughts about what everyday life is like living with ALS. It turned out to be much bigger than she imagined. First, the local newspapers picked up the story, followed by the Associated Press. Then, Nightline called.
And we were really thrilled about that because people have these myths about ALS, that ALS primarily strikes older men. And it's not only men, it's women, it's people in their 20s and 30s and 40s.
I'm so amazed at how many people I encounter who don't know about ALS, don't know what the letters stand for, are vaguely familiar with the name Lou Gehrig's disease, but don't really know what that is other than, oh yeah, a baseball player who died of something. And I feel like the way to make people care is to let them into our lives to see how our kids are affected, how our family is affected.
But first, they had to talk to their children.
After I was diagnosed, we had a very serious conversation about the fact that the doctors are not going to be able to help me get better. What we discovered is that knowledge is power, and that's true whether you're an adult or a child.
Around the same time, Bob Lee started planning another cross-country bike trip to raise awareness.
So many people with ALS cannot speak for themselves. They lose their voice, they lose their mobility. So to me, this was my calling to go out and be a voice for people with ALS. And the initial goal was to ride 6,500 miles for celebrating my 65th birthday. And my wife and I got married in 1965. We graduated in 1965 together. So 65 had some meaning.
And there was a more personal meaning as well.
This ride, a ride for 3 reasons. I added cancer, ALS, and hospice are the 3 reasons. And I did ride as a survivor of cancer, colon cancer, number 3 killer. I'm one of the 10 million survivors. So I feel very fortunate that I could be out there and do what I did.
But Bob would be the first to say he had help.
The Duchessois Family Foundation came forth with a challenge to find 650 donors within 45 days. And if we did, they would contribute $65,000. And at the end of 45 days, we didn't have 650 donors. We had over 1,000 donors. We had contributions from over 40 states and 5 different countries.
Although it was just Bob and his bike most of the way, he was able to keep in touch with everyone through daily blogs on his website. And whenever he needed a little inspiration, he pulled out a keepsake given to him in memory of Rich Crane, a patient who'd given him great support on his first ride.
And it doesn't just represent Rich Crane, it represents all the pals.
Bob said they gave him pedal power, something his daughter Laura observed when she joined him for one leg of the trip.
My dad, he'd be up there ahead of me just pedaling away, and it was not uncommon to hear him say, you know, this is for you, Aimee, or I'm remembering you, Rich Crane.
And as he'd hoped, Bob was able to spread that message across the country. Ultimately, he raised $130,065 for the Les Turner ALS Foundation's research laboratory at Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine. Over the years, the laboratory's team of scientists, headed by Dr. Tipu Sadiq, has been at the forefront of ALS research, recognized throughout the world for landmark discoveries of 2 genetic causes of ALS.
It's always exciting to hear another gene being found and another step towards that ultimate goal of finding the cause and then the cure for the disease. And I can't think of a better place to put the money.
Since 1977, through various fundraising events like the ALS Walk for Life, the foundation has raised more than $35 million toward research and patient care.
It's really an incredible day. It's a celebration of how far we have come and how we can make a difference when we come together in numbers.
That includes funding the Lois Insolia ALS Center, one of the finest patient care facilities in the world, as well as a wide range of care and support options, such as medical equipment, respite grants, support groups, and a home care and community services team.
We're very blessed here living in Chicago with the Les Turner Foundation because there's so much support that we get from them, but there are people across our nation and across the world that aren't able to have the support that we have.
Which is why the Chamerniks continue to share their story.
I think it's so incredible how they've made very private struggle so public. I look how full my days are, being a mother of 4 children, just trying to get all the basic things done. And she's doing that. She's loving her kids. She's spending quality time with them. And beyond that, she's spreading the word of ALS and how it affects people.
Last May, the Chamerniks joined other ALS patients and families in Washington to persuade legislators to pass the ALS Registry Act, which would create a national database to help researchers pinpoint factors that all ALS patients share.
I mean, we do this all the time in support group. We'll be talking and trying to figure out what do I have in common with Marty, and Jim, and Kurt.
There's so much more that needs to be done. We need to keep pushing to raise awareness about ALS, to get more money funneled into research and support services.
It's really about finding your passion, getting involved, getting out of yourself, and giving back and leaving this world a better place. And we can all do that. You don't need to ride 6,500 miles.
Tonight, we honor Aimee Chamernik and Bob Lee, who have shown how individuals working together for a common cause can bring hope to all of us.
That's what I'm working for. Every time I look at any group of kids, I wonder if one of these children will grow up to someday be diagnosed with ALS and have the doctor say, you know what, it's okay because you have ALS and ALS is treatable.